Chapter 18, 24 hours since the launch. I woke. I was a bit dazed. I had fallen asleep for about 2 hours at the helm. I wasn't sure where I was or if I was still dreaming. I looked over at the navigation console. We were at 93% speed, and it had leveled out. Waking Amy, I said, "I'm pushing the power up to level 5. Roger that," she said, slowly waking. "We may have a problem. Radar shows debris ahead." As she hit the button to check our shielding, it extended even further now as we accelerated. "How far out is it?" I asked. "Not to worry. Our shielding should deflect anything out of our way, and it's still at full strength." She hesitated and then said, "I can't believe this. It says it is extended out 100,000 miles, give or take. How can that be? It doesn't have that kind of range, does it? Should it?" "I don't know. Maybe it's boosting off our momentum. The same thing we hope will happen with our radio transmission on the way back to Earth, which is what I had anticipated earlier, kind of like a reverse Doppler effect." "I get it. This is to our advantage then." "Yes," and before I could say anything else, she shouted, "We're in it now." We really weren't. Our shielding was tough, and the next thing she said was, "They're deflecting, and rather quickly." "It's true," I said. "It's impenetrable, and even more so when more power is applied." One of my last worries was alleviated. I looked down, and the screen showed power level 6. I skipped 5 accidentally and nothing detrimental happened? We won't have to worry about raising the levels or skipping one. "Well, that's some good news," she said. I looked down as we went to 7, and what I saw was simply amazing. "Come here, check this out." "What?" she said. "The speed," I said. "We're at 96%, and I have to prompt the computer for orbital insertion of Kepler-2 now, in case we freeze up with time. We have no idea what the effect would be on us. We may freeze up before the halfway point. I have to do this now." Break out the manual that Carl prepared, and she was already handing it to me before I could finish saying. I thought, God, got to love this woman. "You better," she replied. I smiled as I skimmed back through looking for orbital insertion programming. Found it, handed it back. "Read it to me as I type." "First," she said, "type in the 6-point coordinates of the star and name it." I spoke. "Done. Next. Give permission for that program to run on auto and then to read the navigation controls, radar, and to access speed control for braking. Now hit read coordinates for braking at halfway point or optimal reading of distances versus time." This went on for about 15 minutes. Now hit enter. Another screen came up and showed when this would occur with a detailed map, and it looked like it wasn't going to flip till we entered the gravity field of the star Kepler-62. Amy excitedly said, "Is that enough distance to do this?" The computer has analyzed all the input and information that it has gathered and made an assumption. I would have thought more along the halfway point, but I was wrong about the acceleration, so probably I was wrong about braking also. "If we keep accelerating, will it compensate?" "It should. It's running this program just like we thought, and it was no different for orbital insertion for the flyby of our moon, so I don't see why not. The parameters change. It's designed to learn when it's running, as I remembered what Carl had taught me. It was the same kind of thing that he was doing when programming the computers at Intercell for the robots, so that they wouldn't injure humans during manufacturing, also right themselves and continue their work. Some of the hardware they got rid of when they upgraded is in here, along with other things like circuit boards and downloads. Amy then asked, "Why are you worried still?" "Are you reading me?" "Yes." "How come you can't read my mind to find out?" "I'm not sure, but I think when emotions, the bad ones, are so intense, the mind somehow can put up a wall without knowing, like a firewall in a computer, without thinking about it, which is the closest description I can provide." Okay, I'll be totally honest with you. Even as fast as we are going, if we can't break the barrier at 99% speed of light, it will still take thousands of years to reach that star, and at which point, if we are frozen in time, we'll have to turn around and pray we can build up enough speed. We already talked about that. There's a 50% probability of survival, and I see nothing in here about programming to use or change to other stars to turn and keep the momentum going. So I was right. How far are we? Not far enough. When we hit that 99% mark, we'll be approximately 1 light-year in, and after I recalculated it, we have 989 light years to go, give or take. "How close are we to 99%? She asked. "A little while yet. When it needs more power, that'll be another crossroad. I think we should try when it's moments away. What do you think? Any premonitions?" "No, nothing bad, which is what they tell me usually. Every now and then I get a good one, like the first time I saw you and the first time I probed your mind." "Thanks, my love. I have no idea what will happen when we hit the next level." "Okay then. We are together on this. We keep going, right?" "Yes, we should. But we should send one more message back to the boys. They still may be listening, even though years have gone by from their perspective. We should send our logs and the recordings that the comm computer has been recording, and this should give them enough proof if they are still listening, so they know what we are going to attempt. Just make sure to use the secure frequency. Send everything we have so far. They need to also know if we are successful, they'll see us in a few years. Tell them also, no matter what, to keep looking for us. We're going all the way, and we will be back sooner or later, dead or alive." She said, "Okay, sounds good. What do you mean in a few years, dead or alive?" "The truth," I simply said. We didn't know if they would receive it, but we had to send it till we thought of a better way or time to resend a message. I said, "You better do it now before we continue on, because we are at 96.549%. "Aye, aye, Captain," and she went back to work. I laughed and said, "And don't call me Captain." Her face lightened up, and then she smiled at me. As I stared at the screen, the numbers were clicking by, and as I stared into space on screen, I wondered what would be out there, dreaming, relaxing, or trying to anyway. After a while, I snapped back to and asked, "How's it going?" "Just about done. They're all going to get everything that we know. everything we have been talking about. They'll get statistics on our supplies and the distances with the variables in our speed and now our location, and to let everyone important to us know we're still okay. Great, baby. I think at this point we need to turn on our homing beacon. Oh, okay. And I added a PS to Drew also. She giggled as she said that. Good girl, I said. They're all going to love that. Yes, and hopefully it'll motivate Drew. For what? His voyeurism? Tone of my voice sort of demanded an answer, but I knew what she added. I was reading it in her mind now. He wanted to know what it was like. No, to stop being so reclusive. Maybe it'll motivate him to find someone. She then added, to find someone that's for him like Carl has. Do you think he will? Don't know, maybe. She then inserted, what do you think they're up to right about now? I don't know, but maybe they have a patent by now, but without the scan and our flight records, without the demonstration we had planned to show the world, maybe they decided to wait, and if they are waiting, they may have started building another ship, who knows? They may think we're lost and have given up on us. Well, she said, they're going to see a moon flight, all right. I laughed my ass off at that statement and said, this is why I love you so much. She laughed with me, and I think this helped us retain our composure and sanity in a desperate situation. She sent a recording on what sex was like with no gravity. Look, she blurted, we've topped out at 99% of light. Now it's prompting you to hit level 8. I told you it would learn as we go. Carl's one smart cookie. Look at our clock. It's just about stopped now. So we were wrong about being stopped with time. Yes, and I believe our force field will eventually make a wormhole in this line of intensified energies, and this is our only hope, our only chance. Or we turn and try to go home at that point. We don't know how long that might take, and that is a scary choice. This also means something else, I said. We are, in a sense, in limbo as of now. And then I asked, are you all right with the choice? Should we do it? Yes, we should. She then smiled seductively as she was playing with a double entendre. We should do it all the time. Okay, I said, and we did. Later, as we got back into our seats and strapped in, that's when she said, wow, that was unbelievable. I agreed. I said, never ever leave me, okay? Never, she said, adding, I needed to know we could do that again. Dying after that session wasn't even a threat to us now, and so, she then asked, so what are you waiting for? One last kiss, my love. She complied as I clicked the command prompt the moment her lips touched mine. Then after, we both watched intently as the numbers swirled forward again, and as we watched, we couldn't help seeing the change in our viewing screens. It happened just as we thought about, as many thinkers predicted. The stars were starting to look elongated like tracers, but not all, as some were not moving away from us, but those that were, the very distant ones directly in front of us, weren't. I looked over at Amy, and she looked relieved as I did now and amazed. We both knew we had one barrier behind us now, but we had others that still were detrimental. Well, that's a relief and stressful at the same time, she said. Yes, it was, I said, as I added, one good thing is that we are on the bottom edge of our acceleration still, so we really have 3 increments to go, starting now with this one. So Einstein was wrong, she said. Well, it's not that he was wrong about this. He was right about the limits of light, and that is what he based his information on. Nobody followed what gravity could do because they thought that light was the fastest thing in the universe. But no one had counted on gravity and electromagnetic fields and 0-point energy being just a bit quicker. So what do you think is next for us? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. We still might beat this prey, I said. We have a couple of weeks to figure it out, give or take. She headed for our galley and then returned with food and drink. As she came back up and floated up to the opening in the floor, she said, "Open your mouth." Then tossed 3 pills at me, which floated over in my direction. As I maneuvered to catch them one at a time in my mouth, I remember studying the effects out here on the human body. We need calcium supplements and magnesium, vitamins, not to mention exercise, which we weren't set up for. I realized she was in a positive way of thinking, though. Thanks, baby, I appreciate it. She went back down and came back up with food and more drinks and asked, "So what do you have?" Watch the star field. See the star dead ahead? Looks a little larger, don't you think? Looks like it's slightly larger and now brighter, she answered. Yes, and it's not elongating. That's our destination. But look at the ones that are more toward our side. Yes, trails, and it looks like what seems to be the beginning of a tunneling effect. Yes, now look at the navigation screen. We're steadily increasing in speed, but power level is barely moving toward the end of the scale, not like before. What does it mean? I'm not sure yet, but we are unbound by time and space, so there is no limit to this level, maybe. Or we get more out of power levels now. I need more time to analyze it. I wondered what the top end is, she asked. I don't know, Amy, but let's let it run for a while. Like this. Time is on our side for the moment. I don't want to stress the ship, but so far there seems to be no effect in that respect. She asked, "Anything else?" The only thing I see is some excess heat in the engine room, but that can be vented out since it was in a vacuum already. Or open the vents for more cooling, and I did that, and we are stable now. I said, "Look, we just passed the speed of light and still climbing. Good, we need an advantage now, so what do you think we should do?" "Let me meditate on that," she said. "I don't know yet." I didn't know what she meant entirely, but I agreed. It was a redundant question she didn't answer, at which point she floated above me, eyes closed, and relaxed. I crunched some numbers, trying to figure out her next move, and wished Magic was here. He was way better at math than I was, and a lot quicker with it. Then I thought about this. If the 4 of us were here, the terms of our survival would be more drastic and too crowded. And if there still was a future in this tech, we would have to come up with a larger ship for sure. I thought about a lot of things as I watched stars fly by, some slowly, some quickly, and I forgot and thought of why men went to war, and I looked at all the resources out here, and the realization of the fact was that there was everything Earth would ever need out here, and so much more. One planet could never run out. How foolish that we didn't think about how to harvest what we needed from the asteroid belt, moon, or other planets. Instead, we kept going in reverse, killing each other. And I thought, what a stupid species we must look like to anyone that was, or maybe was secretly out there observing us and our planet. And as I was checking the stats and life support, Amy awoke from what I thought was probably a nap, grabbed me by the back of the hair, and pulled my head backwards, looked me in the eyes, and asked, "Why the worried look?" Then she gave me a big kiss, and I really loved her ways. I answered, "Well, you know, not to worry, my love, there's only one thing to do." "What's that?" "Floor it." "What makes you say that all of a sudden? Is that what you got from your nap?" "No, more than that. Remember what you told me about Orion?" "Yes," I said. "I had an out-of-body event, so it is a gateway to a city. In our reality, it's invisible. I couldn't go in either. It wasn't my time yet, just like you. And my escort also told me things as I asked him questions." "Really? Like what?" I said. She asked me seriously, "You're not being sarcastic, are you?" "No, I'm just tired. Math always does that to me. It pisses me off. Go on, my love." "Okay, we will live. We have to take a chance, and we have to rely on our technology at a certain point. It is an extension of us." "This is what you got from there?" He didn't say exactly, except that we would learn something spectacular. "Go on." "I guess when we become safe, when that happens and is done, we are to head back to Earth. It's not our time yet, and here that means you too. I also had this feeling we were chosen." "Chosen for what?" I said. "We're supposed to find out in time." "Okay, I believe you. We survived all this." "Yes." "So, what did it look like?" She projected into my mind a giant city on a bedrock with a dome surrounding it overhead like this. Then she drew it in our paint program, and this took her about 20 minutes. I had floated over to see what she was doing as I kissed her about the neck. As I looked at the drawing, I blurted out, "Holy Hannibal." Then I asked, "How did you do this so quickly?" "I don't know, but judging from my past skills at this, it's as if I have been drastically enhanced somehow." "Wow," I said. "It's very similar to what I've seen. The being that talked to me told me that all of the accumulated knowledge was in the main gates building. It is called the Library of the Akashic Records. This is what many people know and have found out also. It is known that it is not on the physical plane, but rather it exists on the etheric level. This is almost identical to what I drew free-handed years ago. I believe you experienced the same thing I did. It was a library of everything ever known in the universe." She continued, "When I was there, a being spoke to me mind to mind like you experienced. And I understood also that time is of the essence. I'm not sure why yet, and that scares me." What do you think it is a representation of?" "Same as you believed back then, as now in your mind. You know the answer. It's the New Jerusalem." Why do we get to know all this is what I can't quite figure out. All she could say was, "I don't know yet either." Then I said, not to change the subject, but I was thinking about why the computer chose Kepler 6-2, and why not a nearer star like Alpha Centauri, which is only 4 light years away. That would have been more logical even for a computer. So I posed this. Was it a random selection by the computer or something else? Yes, it is odd. It must have been the trajectory of the missile and the position of the next star to attract to, but I'm not sure either. All I know is we need to be back in 2 weeks or sooner in our timeline, or we might be dead. But something is pointing to some unknown destiny and a destination at such a great distance for some reason, wouldn't you say? So what makes you so sure? I asked. I was told that you, my love, have been guided by divine forces. You were supposed to do this, but not for your reasons, not exactly. Remember all those things that you told us? Yes, I said. She kept on. There's intervention from time to time by both principalities, one countering the other. But now what we have here is the necessity for human survival, and what I can understand from my experience is if mankind had not fallen, we would have had this technology sooner. Now we have been given time to see if humans can change. We still have to save certain people to defend right from wrong, but not the whole world. That seems to be out of our hands. Go on. That's why it took so long to get this kind of technology. Then I learned for sure that there are other beings in our universe that did not fall, and there are others who did, thousands of years before we were ever created. Interesting, I said. So it follows biblical teachings, and it must, if it is what we think and pretty much know it is. Yes, Spock, it is. Don't call me Spock. And then we both giggle a little, trying to keep our spirits up. Then she placed both hands on my temples and projected what she experienced directly into my brain. I then said jokingly, "Who's Spock now?" as she implanted her vision. It was exactly what I had seen years before, down to the bedrock. There must be even a greater reason for all of this than it seems for us. Then I said, also, seriously, when I experienced that spectacle, as scary as that seemed, I always thought there must be a greater reason behind all life. So now you're telling me it's greater reason than it seems. I never realized I was guided at the right time to those who had a greater knowledge than I did to put this all into perspective, and you see it too. After her projection, she asked, "What else are you thinking?" "What? You aren't reading me?" "No, I don't do it all the time. Do you?" "With me it seems to be random, if ever." "What else?" "Let's see. I haven't figured out exactly why religious experiences and this technology and us are intertwined. Why would they be related? Why be shown different phenomena for what we thought was our reason, then to learn that it is our reasons? For a lesser extent, somehow. Shouldn't it all be out of our hands? I don't know, except I believe it must be important to know to keep moral responsibility always in the forefront of anything we do. We'll know somehow in the future if this is correct. All in good time, apparently, she said, then hesitated and added, "My premonitionary abilities are becoming enhanced along with reading minds, at least in this can with you. I don't think it's all coincidence. There's reason we are to save a few if that is the case." I never heard that word before. What does it mean? What does premonitory mean? Yes. She then quickly rattled off its definition. It means giving premonition, serving to warn beforehand, premonitory signs, late Latin, premonitorius. How do you know that? Did you know any of this before? I never heard of the word, never used it, let alone the definition, but I do now. I have no choice logically now but to accept and believe what I find out now. I take it on faith now because of what I was shown. She then said, I was told you would come to that conclusion also. You're right, I said, and then in a raspy voice she said jokingly, your faith, strong it is. She was doing Yoda now. What a brilliant mind, smiling at me so happy now, and now knowing I would believe all of what she had showed me and told me as she played it back to me in my mind again, knowing I wanted to see this fresh memory again. I had no doubts, and her memories matched mine perfectly about what she had seen, what she had experienced. Scientists on Earth would be throwing fits knowing that we based our decisions on as we dealt with this technology and our predicament, which would be in a religious, moral manner. What in the world could we do? What could be the reasoning? There was nothing to do now but try to stay alive and continue, so I reached over and moved the arrow on the navigation screen to level 10. Everything was ready. She pulled my head back and kissed me on the forehead, and we buckled up. Hold my hand, she said. As I clasped it, I asked her, are you ready? I hit enter, and the computer did the rest. All we saw was a flash of white light. Our force field was now so intense that a tunnel of haze, white light formed in front of us, and we flowed into it suddenly and with great force, and it was as if all the stars blended into one blinding light on the sides of our path that lasted what I would consider to be about 25 seconds. Then everything went black as we entered the Kepler system, and then all we saw was the brilliant sun and the stars reappearing in front of us. We looked at each other in silence. All the pressure was gone now. We sat there mesmerized for a few minutes, and calm had overtaken us as we realized we were still alive. We had taken another successful step in the testing of the unknown capabilities in physics. It was then, at this exact moment, we knew we would make it back home. What a relief, she joyously stated. Look at the clocks, they're all moving again. This was almost instantaneous for us, with only about 47 hours of flight time. I could only look at her and smile, and she returned a joyous smile with a new hope. The feeling was overwhelming and mutual. What a scene we were witnessing in this new solar system. Next, Chapter 19, Old Ground, New Ground.